The game, as we know it, is well and truly gone. The Premier League has introduced new media laws that will come into the league next season where we can all collectively get together. Every single fan base in this league can all get together and just state that this is not the way to go. It is a clear and obvious Americanization, I would say, of the sport itself. It's clearly being done to appeal to the likes of American fans, of course, supporters that are used to having this in several different American sports, and just to appeal to a larger audience where this does not benefit Newcastle. It does not benefit any Premier League team, and it's not something in a competitive stance that benefits any teams in that nature. Now, my biggest problem by far when you look at the new rules coming in, half-time interviews with the manager. So let's put this into context. Newcastle could be losing a game. Let's say we're losing the time we are Derby. It's not going to happen, by the way, but let's just say December time, we go to the Stadium of Light and we are actually losing the game at half-time. Imagine Sky Sports or TNT Sports coming into our dressing room at half-time, not just interviewing Eddie Howe or Jason Tyndall, but also getting broadcast footage, live broadcast footage of the dressing room. All it takes is one of our players to say something stupid. All it takes is for one of our players to do something that they shouldn't be doing on TV, or for someone like Sky Sports to capture footage the player's not aware of the player doing something that they probably shouldn't be doing on TV. That'd be broadcasted. All of a sudden, you've got tens of thousands of supporters or tens of thousands of opposition fans then jumping onto Newcastle, which does not benefit us at all and could cause quite a lot of problems behind the scene. Now, we know Eddie Howe is the sort of manager that does not like stuff getting out. Eddie Howe is a very private manager in terms of media. Yes, a couple of years ago we had that Amazon Prime documentary, but that documentary was heavily controlled by Newcastle, especially the ownership side of things. I fully believe likes of Amanda, likes of Murder would have had their hands on that documentary. They would have been fully aware of what footage is going out. If they wanted to cut something out or they did not want something to go out there, I fully believe in that documentary, especially towards us, it felt like quite a safe documentary. And what I mean by that is it felt quite controlled from Newcastle. It's what Newcastle wanted to get out there rather than a raw documentary where it could have been bad stuff about Newcastle. Now, of course, as supporters, I'm not going to lie, I would love nothing more than to see everything that goes behind the scenes at Newcastle. I love to see the good. I love to see the bad because it helps me understand the club better. It helps me understand what every single person is doing behind the scenes. But some things are just not meant to get out in the media. There are things that Eddie Howe would do. There are things that the players would do and that the ownership would do behind the scenes that does not need to be put out there, because it does not benefit us as a football club when it is out there. And this sort of thing next season, when Newcastle has little control on what goes out there, it won't benefit us whatsoever. And there'll be times next season with these new rules coming in where Newcastle will do something they shouldn't have done, or it'll be a time where a player or manager, whoever it may be, will step out of line. And of course, an entertainment point of view, for those of you watching at home, you'll love it because you see all the drama on TV, but it just will not help Newcastle out as a football club. And it's the same for every single team now. It's not just that as well. I think that's the big talking point, the half-time interviews and the broadcast footage being aired on live TV. But there's other things as well. When a sub gets taken, of course, onto the bench after playing a match, straight away Sky Sports interviewing the player that's been subbed off. Of course, a lot of time when players get subbed off, especially in this sort of sense as well, you just know TV companies are going to wait until there's a player that's been subbed off for a bad performance or they've done something in the game they shouldn't have done, and they'll know exactly that that's the interview they'll go and get. They'll go and get that interview. And I remember famously a couple of years ago, I'll give you an example, Anthony Gordon, there was a time where he basically pushed Eddie Howe, he shrugged Eddie Howe off when he got subbed off. He first came up the football club. Now imagine Sky Sports going up to Gordon and interviewing him. Why have we done that? What's going on here? And then Gordon says something he shouldn't have done, which then could have a bit of a falling out with the manager either. And that's something in the moment that, again, it does not benefit Newcastle as a football club. Now, as I said before, I know you guys at home will love watching that. You'll love seeing it in the moment. But long term for Newcastle, that could then be a player that's been dropped to the bench, or it could be a player that a few months later Newcastle then just sells because they've had a bit of a falling out. And again, in terms of social media, we will all eat it up alive in social media. There'll be tens of thousands of people on social media talking about it, saying bad things towards the likes of Gordon. And then that could potentially get in the back of Gordon's head. And I don't think these rules and these media laws protect the players. I don't think they do. I think it's solely done because it creates drama, it creates interest, and it creates then more people to tune in, which increases revenue and helps the likes of the Premier League get more eyes watching. But the Premier League's already the most watched footballing league in the world, so why do we need these extra rules? And we don't honestly need these. Of course, for you that are not going to the matches, you'll love it and you think it's a great addition. And some years might like the way the Premier League's going about it, but we don't need these at all. The Premier League's already the biggest league in the world in terms of football. Why do we need to add these extra little perks on, these extra little TV segments on and interviews on? It's just a clear Americanization of the sport, and it's just not something where when I look back after the game when I get home, it's just not something where I think it benefits Newcastle. I think Newcastle now, if they had a choice or a say in this matter, would be heavily against this. There was absolutely no chance anyhow the players, anyone at the football club would want this to happen. No chance. 100% Newcastle would say no to this, and there's no way you could convince Newcastle otherwise, because it's just not what we do. We're quite private in terms of media, in terms of what we put out there. And Newcastle's a heavily controlled club. Even if you talk about me, for example, or any content creators that are perhaps wanting to do something with Newcastle, Newcastle's probably one of the more stricter teams in the Premier League that just won't let us do anything and they won't give out anything. That's just how they've always been. And that's just how Newcastle operates, because they want everything to be controlled. They want everything to be in their own hands. And when something gets out of their hands and something goes on social media, what they say, so it puts our media team an edge and makes people go, well, we're not going to do this from now on. We're not going to do this going forward. And especially for Newcastle and the way we operate and the way we're going to be in the Champions League next season, this just puts extra pressure on us. It puts on the possibility of a player or a staff member or someone at the club to make a mistake. And when they make that mistake, it does not benefit the team. It does not benefit the club. And then that's when we have problems. That's when things in the long term might go wrong. There's some other things in there. For example, when a player scores, the cameras are allowed to physically go onto the pitch and capture footage of the celebration. I don't mind that at all. Actually, when you look back in TV and when you look back at these camera shots, I think the shot itself's all right, and that's something I've got nothing against, because, well, I think once you get used to it and once you've been in the stadium a few times, you see that happen. It's something you can just get attuned to. A bit like when VAR got first introduced people for what the hell is this, but once you get used to it, it's just part of the normal sport. I haven't got any issues really with that camera going out the pitch and getting footage. I think that's all right. But everything else, the interviews, the half time with the manager, the dressing room footage, the bits with interviews with players when they get subbed off, just no. None of it at all works for me. It is very bad towards Newcastle, and it's going to be the same with every team as well. It's not just a Newcastle thing. But you guys know what social media is like towards Newcastle. You know what likes of Sky Sports are like. You know what the likes of these big media companies. They love to jump on Newcastle. They love to say bad things about Newcastle. We are giving them more ammunition to do stuff like that because of these new rules, and why it's not us directly doing it. The Premier League will put additional pressure on Newcastle, because once stuff goes out about us during the game and we lose a game, for example, and then we said something bad about the match, we'll get slaughtered on social media. You know what social media is like. They'll post a lot of articles about Newcastle. There'll be a lot of talk from biased journalists or biased media pundits, and it just won't make us look good. It would put a lot of pressure on Eddie Howe, it'll put a lot of pressure on the players, and it's intentional. It's done on purpose because it creates interest, it creates a buzz, and it creates noise. And that noise helps the Premier League out. And it's not, and me saying that the Premier League's picking on Newcastle because they're doing it for every team, but just not for me. Not something I personally like, and I'm quite big in media as well. As my livelihood is doing media on Newcastle United content, but I don't like this, and that's come from me. So the fact that I don't like this and I'm quite big in media, I think probably tells you quite a lot. I just don't think it benefits Newcastle. I'm sure a lot of you watching this video now, if not everyone, you had the choice of having this or not. A lot of you would say no. Just doesn't work for me. Heavily Americanized, and it's just something we don't need. The Premier League's already the biggest league out there. Why do we need to put this on top of it? I can understand the Premier League and a couple of things, but this is too far for me. It does not help Newcastle out at all. It takes away a lot of our privacy that we should have. Manager definitely should have that privacy at half time to be able to change the things he wants, and now it's going to be broadcasted across the world, and I do have a problem with that. It does not benefit us as a football club, and we need to let them be heard. I feel like, and we need to make sure, especially on Newcastle's side, our media team's got a lot of work to do next season. Let's make sure they can sort it out, and let's make sure we can protect our players and manager as much as possible, because the last thing you want is for them to say something they shouldn't have said, and then we'll get loads of backlash. Let's make sure we look after them so they can crack on, have a fantastic season with Newcastle, and we can do the best that we possibly can. But take care and let me know your comments down below.